There is one year that should scare the hell out of Democrats. Not 2024, not 2026, not even 2028, 2032. Because by 2032, the consequences of blue state failure may be locked into the map. For years, the Census Bureau has tracked America's population center, the point where the country's population balances out in every direction. Back in 1800, it was near Baltimore. As the country expanded, that point moved west. But in recent decades, it has moved west and south, and that tells you the real story. America is moving, and it is not moving toward blue states. It is moving away from them. People are leaving high tax, high cost, heavily regulated blue state strongholds and heading to places where life is still more affordable, more stable, and frankly, more sane. That matters because every 10 years, the census does more than count people. It redistributes power, House seats move, electoral votes move, political leverage moves. And right now, that movement is a disaster for Democrats. States like California, New York, and Illinois are either losing people outright or growing too slowly to keep their political weight. Meanwhile, states like Texas and Florida are gaining population, gaining representation, and gaining power. So this is not just about moving trucks. It is about who controls the future. Democrats already have a hard enough time holding their coalition together. But what happens when the electoral map itself starts tilting against them because millions of Americans are done with blue state governance? They lose twice. They lose residents. Then they lose power. And the part that should really sting is this: a lot of this is self-inflicted. Now, yes, some population trends are old. The Rust Belt has been losing relative ground for decades. Industrial decline hollowed out entire regions long before today's governors and mayors showed up. But let's not hide behind that. What is happening now is modern blue state dysfunction pushing people out in real time. In too many Democrat-run states, life has become painfully expensive and needlessly difficult. Housing costs are outrageous. Rent is crushing, taxes keep climbing, regulations pile up, public disorder gets explained away, and somehow the answer is always more bureaucracy, more spending, and more excuses. Blue state politicians love to lecture people about compassion, fairness, and equity, but for the average family trying to buy a home, pay the bills, and raise kids without going broke, that messaging is starting to sound like a bad joke. Because the lived experience is this: you work hard, you make decent money, and somehow you still cannot afford a normal life. That is why people are leaving. Not because of a slogan, not because of a meme. They are leaving because staying has become a bad deal. And where are they going? Red states, places with lower taxes, lower housing costs, fewer regulatory headaches, more room to grow, and a much better shot at building an actual future. Are red states perfect? No, but they are doing a better job of delivering the basics that normal people actually care about. That is why families are moving. That is why businesses are moving. That is why political power is moving. And that is exactly why redstatereload.com exists. Because at some point, people stop waiting for blue state politicians to fix the mess they created. At some point, hope turns into realism. At some point, families look around and realize the smarter move is not to keep suffering where they are. The smarter move is to leave. At Red State Reload, we help homeowners and families escape blue states and relocate to red states for a better life. More affordability, more freedom, more opportunity. Less political insanity, less financial pressure, less feeling like you are running uphill every single day. Because this is not just about politics, it is about quality of life. Can you afford the house you want? Can your paycheck still go somewhere? Can you raise a family without getting squeezed from every direction? Can you live somewhere that still feels functional? For millions of Americans, blue states are no longer offering that. And housing is where the whole thing falls apart. Yes, America has a housing crisis overall, but in many blue cities and blue states, the problem is far worse. Home prices are absurd, rent is brutal. Here is a crazy thought: when normal people cannot afford shelter, your model is broken. You cannot claim to represent working families while pricing working families out of the market. You cannot brag about compassion while people delay marriage, delay kids, and delay home ownership. Every person who leaves California for Texas, New York for Florida, or Illinois for Tennessee is not just changing states. They are moving money, talent, energy, and tax base. That is what Democrats should actually be panicking about, because they are not just losing elections, they are losing population trends, they are losing the middle class. Meanwhile, red states are gaining the people, the investment, the growth, and eventually the votes. So yes, 2032 should terrify Democrats, because by then, the migration trend they ignored may already be baked into the political map. And by then, millions more Americans may have reached the same conclusion: get out. Get out of the tax burden, get out of the housing trap, get out of the blue state decline, and build a better life somewhere that still works. That is the shift happening right now, and it is only getting bigger. If you are ready to stop tolerating high costs and endless excuses, redstaterailroad.com is here to help. Subscribe for more on migration, housing, and how to make your move. Check out the link to our site for more great information. Thanks for tuning in, and please subscribe to our channel. Thanks.